I would like to introduce you to our first keynote speaker, Ambassador William Taylor. Ambassador Taylor is the Vice President at the U.S. Institute of Peace for Europe and Russia. In 2019, he served as chargé d'affaires at the U.S. Embassy in Kyiv and as the U.S. Ambassador to Ukraine from 2006 to 2009. In the 1990s, Ambassador Taylor coordinated U.S. assistance to the former Soviet Union and Eastern Europe. He earlier served on the staff of Senator Bill Bradley. He is a graduate of West Point and Harvard's Kennedy School, and served as an infantry platoon leader and combat company commander in the U.S. Army in Vietnam and Germany. We will be taking questions from the audience following Ambassador Taylor's speech, so please be sure to type your questions in the comments section of the post at the top right of your screen. Welcome, Ambassador Taylor.
Rose, thank you very much. It's an honor to be here. I really appreciate the opportunity to talk with you and all the people who have joined you on this occasion. You know, Rose, we all hear when we talk to Ukrainians how much they appreciate what the rest of the world is doing. They appreciate the support to their government that allows their government to pay teachers and to pay soldiers and to pay healthcare workers. They appreciate the weapons that their soldiers, their brothers and fathers and sisters and mothers are using on the front line. They thank us a lot, but Rose, you know, and I know, and all of us know that are watching here today, that it is we who thank the Ukrainians for what they are doing. The Ukrainians, yes, are certainly fighting for their country. They're fighting for their community. They're fighting for their families. Ukrainians are fighting for their existence, as we know. This neighbor, this aggressor, the Russians, Vladimir Putin, has made it clear what his intentions are. He's made it clear what he intends to do. He intends to wipe Ukraine off the map. He intends to bring Ukraine into Russia and absorb Ukraine into Russia. And that's what the Ukrainian soldiers are doing on the front line. They are resisting that. They're fighting that. They're pushing back on this aggression. And they are fighting for their own, for your own, for Ukrainians' own independence and sovereignty and independence and the right to be able to decide Ukraine's own leaders. Ukraine has elected a leader that is leading the country. President Zelensky is inspiring the world. And so the Ukrainians, under that leadership, under the military leadership, in the presence of the bravery of the Ukrainian soldiers on the front line, defending themselves, defending their families, defending us, defending Europe, defending the United States. It's we who need to thank them. It is we that need to thank, and beyond thanking, we need to work. We need to take action to be sure that the Ukrainians win. Ukrainians can win. The Ukrainians are preparing, as everybody on this call knows, a big, I'm sure, successful offensive that is designed and is prepared and is ready and is equipped and is trained to push the Russians out of their country. That's all the Ukrainians want. We know that. The Ukrainians have made it very clear. All they want is for the Russians to be out of their country. And that's what they're preparing to do. That's this counteroffensive that they're preparing. I am sure it will be successful one way or the other. I am confident that the Ukrainian leadership, both civilian and military, has given a lot of thought to this. And they know when and where they are going to attack. And they know that they can be successful. They can be successful if we in the West provide them on the front lines the equipment and the ammunition and the support that they need. And if we give them that, they can succeed. They can succeed in pushing them. They can succeed in breaking through these Russian lines that have been dug in, as we know, for a long time. And once they break through, they can then go through and push through and exploit this breach of the Russian lines. And this could, Rose, this could have the effect of shattering the Russian military in Ukraine. So this is really important. Ukrainians will not give up. Ukrainians will continue this fight until they are able to reclaim all of their land. And I'm sure this will come. I'm sure a lot of it will be taken back. A lot of the land will be taken back this summer. And whatever's not taken back will be taken back. The Ukrainians will not give up. They will continue to fight. And what we need to do, what we in the West, what we in the United States, what we in Europe, what we in Asia need to do, the Japanese, the South Korea, all of us need to support the Ukrainians because they are fighting for us. They are fighting for the sovereignty, the principle of sovereignty, the principle of territorial integrity, for the independence, for their own democracy. And those are the values that we hold. And they are fighting for us. So, Rose, that's my main message, that they thank us, but much more important is for us to thank them and to continue to provide the support to them. And with that, I would love to take questions from you or in any of the people on the line.
Thank you, Ambassador Taylor. I appreciate you sharing this with us. How do you see, here at ENGin, we think a lot about the future of Ukraine and what it's going to look like once Ukraine defeats Russia. How do you see people in the US and people around the world playing a part in helping Ukraine rebuild after the war?
So this rebuilding, this reconstruction will be an international effort. The Ukrainians, as you know, the Ukrainians have already begun. I was in Kyiv last September. I visited Bucha and Irpin. The reconstruction is already ongoing there, as you know. It's cleaned up, and they are putting back together. That continues. I will be there next week. I'm looking forward to visiting next week and seeing this further reconstruction that's going on. So the Ukrainians are already starting. And what we need to do is prepare to provide them with the resources that they're going to need to further this reconstruction. I'm sure the United States will make a big contribution. I'm sure the Europeans will make a big contribution. I'm sure the international financial institutions, the World Bank and the IMF, the EBRD, all of these financial will make big contributions. But the biggest contribution I think that needs to take place is from the Russians. The Russians need to provide reparations, need to pay reparations. After the victory, the reconstruction effort is going to be enormous. Ukrainians know this. We see this. It's going to be an enormous effort. It's probably $500 billion worth. Turns out, Rose, as you know, there are $300 billion of that $500 billion in Western banks. $300 billion of Russian central bank reserves, cash, are in Western banks, and those reserves have been frozen. So the Russians can't get at them. What we need to do now is take those frozen reserves and seize them, put them into a fund, an international fund that the Ukrainians and the international community together can use to rebuild. And so it's going to take all of our efforts. It's going to take the private sector investing into Ukraine. It's going to take Ukrainians, of course, guiding this and providing the ideas and the infrastructure to build it back in ways even better than it was before, so that it is a modern state, an economically viable state. That's going to be really important, but it's going to take a big effort, and we're all going to contribute.
Absolutely. I totally agree with that. And we do have a couple of questions from the audience. So, what do you see as President Biden's biggest challenge in maintaining Western resolve long term in the face of Russia's aggression?
So President Biden has done a good job so far of keeping the intensity, the focus, the support coming, and from the United States as well as from Europeans. Europeans are doing a great job as well. I think the Europeans that I talk to anyway would agree that the U.S. leadership, that the Biden administration leadership has been crucial and needs to continue. Because, as we know, it's been almost 15 months now. Almost 15 months the Ukrainians have been fighting the Russians. It's amazing that they are doing so well. It's taken a toll on, in the first place, Ukrainians. Ukrainians are tired. They're preparing for this big counteroffensive that I just mentioned, but it's been a long time. And it's been a long time for Europeans and Americans as well. The Ukrainians are paying the biggest price, but you can see the effect of 15 months of this fight on Europeans and on Americans. So, in answer to that question, the biggest challenge for President Biden is to keep it up, to keep the focus, to keep the support. This is not going to be a short one. I'm hoping that this counteroffensive this summer does succeed dramatically, and that if it does succeed, it could shorten this war. It could shorten this war if it succeeds. So we need to provide that support right now, so that the Ukrainians can win. But then it's going to take, as I said, a longer time. And President Biden's biggest challenge is to keep the support strong. So far, I will tell you, people in this country know that there has been bipartisan support, overwhelming bipartisan support, Republicans and Democrats, House and Senate, over the years for Ukraine, but in particular over the past year, when this enormous amount of assistance, both military and financial, humanitarian, energy, all of those packages, those assistance packages have passed with bipartisan support, and that continues. There are these voices they're expressing the tiredness, starting to flag, but they're a minority. They are a minority. And what President Biden needs to do is keep that majority, keep that bipartisan support, so that we can continue and we can lead the Europeans as they continue to provide the support to Ukraine.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you. And then one last question. Given your experience in that part of the world, what has changed since you left your office there to lead the current political? What has changed since you left with the current political situation? Was there something predictable?
So the biggest things that has changed since I was there in 2019 was the coming together of all Ukrainians after the 24th of February, 2022, last year. So I was there in 2006, 2009, and then I stayed in touch, visited frequently in 2013, 2014, and saw that invasion, the first Russian invasion, brought the country together. But that coming together, that unity, was dramatically increased on the 24th of February, 2022, last February. And that has been the big change. Ukrainians now are more united, 90%, 95%. You see the support from the East and the West. Doesn't matter what language people speak, doesn't matter what city they're from. The Ukrainians are supporting the defeat of the Russians and the support of their own army, their own military, their soldiers, their president. The Ukrainians are so united, and that is so key. And that will stay. And as long as we uphold our side of the burden, our side of the bargain, that we provide the Ukrainians with the support they need, they're doing the fighting, they're united. And that's the big important strength that the Ukrainians have.
Absolutely. Well, I would like to say that we all appreciate that you have given your time to be with us today and to speak with us about this very important issue with ENGin having over 10,000 active students who are all Ukrainians, and close to that in volunteers who are matched with them one-on-one. It's very important to all of us here to have a really good understanding of what Ukraine is facing now and what they're facing in the future and how we can stand by them. So I really appreciate you being here today.
Well, thank you very much for having me. I really appreciate being here as well, and wish you great success in this effort today.